Hey everybody, Sean Prescott, Remax Crown Realty. I'm your homegrown realtor. Really excited to introduce you to someone today, Mr. Larry Lawson with Vero Beach Hauntings and the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. We're going to talk to him and see if there's anything spooky going on around here. Hey everybody, Sean Prescott, Remax Crown Realty. I'm your homegrown realtor. Very excited today to have Mr. Larry Lawson with me with Indian River Hauntings. And he has a few things to talk to us about today. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad to be here. My name is Larry Lawson. I'm a retired police officer and law enforcement educator. And on the side, I also investigate and research the paranormal.
And how did you end up in that?
I saw actually my first apparition, full-bodied apparition, as we like to say. When I started out in law enforcement in 1980, I was working in the Dade County Jail. And saw what I thought was one of our officers walking down a corridor, and there was nothing wispy or ghostly about him. He looked like a regular person and was gone suddenly. And the guys I worked with had mentioned, yeah, the place is haunted anyway. But it wasn't until my older son and I visited the lighthouse in St. Augustine for his 11th birthday a number of years ago that we had an experience in the lighthouse that caused me to decide I wanted to find out more about this, and began to research it, investigate it, created a group called the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and here we are today.
That's interesting. So you obviously have some experience with investigating in general as former law enforcement.
Yeah, that was my other than I ran the police academy for many years here, but my primary function in law enforcement was criminal investigations.
So I have to imagine you weren't easily spooked. You didn't often see things that you couldn't really explain. So this had to really be something that caught your attention pretty rapidly.
It did. And one thing about being a police officer, folks say, well, how can you believe in ghosts? You work with evidence. Well, important thing about being a police officer is having an open mind and looking at all the evidence and not making a snap decision based upon your feelings or your opinions, but looking at the evidence. And that's what brings us here today.
Interesting. So, how long have you been in Indian River County?
Living in Indian River County since '96, but I've been working up in this area since 1984.
And have you been to any areas around here that there may have been something unexplained that you could tell us a little bit about?
Oh, one or two. There's so many stories. People don't realize the history that Indian River County offers and what has happened here over the years. And only part of it is paranormal. Some of it is just great history. Folks don't realize the smuggling that went on along these shores during Prohibition, for example. The things that occurred during the formation of Indian River County. For example, did you know Indian River County was formed after the sheriff from Fort Pierce, because we were St. Lucie County from 1905 to 1925. The sheriff came up from St. Lucie County to threaten to arrest us all because we were watching movies on Sunday in our brand new theater in downtown Vero.
Wow, that has a heck of a reason to arrest somebody.
That was, but that's just some of the cool history. That event there caused Anthony Young, who was a state legislator and Vero's first mayor, to get together in the Vero Theater downtown and put together the legislation to make us Indian River County in 1925. So. But as far as hauntings, I don't even know where to start. Right here in Sebastian, I got to talk about one of my favorite places, the Pareidolia Brewery, over here on Cleveland off of US 1. Former post office, built in the early 60s. Shouldn't have had anything untold happen there. But the owner of the brewery had some issues, had us come in on the morning. We did a daytime investigation, because he had stuff flying off the walls, he had shadows being seen. So while we were in there, we actually got the opportunity to investigate and film. And while we were filming it, we were able to catch on a recording piano playing. Nobody heard it. I actually heard it, but nobody else had. Played back the recording. Sure enough, there's about 7 or 8 piano notes on there. There's never been a piano in that building. So kind of an interesting little event there.
That is interesting, why you would hear piano music in an old post office.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of reasons why that could occur that we probably don't have time to cover now. But it just shows things can happen anywhere. people make the mistake that it's always the dwelling. Oftentimes it's the properties, the land.
So do you know what might have been on that land prior to the post office?
Nothing that we can see, so we're not sure. We're still investigating that into this, because everything we do has historical, we do historical research on it. So.
Excellent, excellent.
And of course, we've got the old Paris and Bama Lawson house next to the Beyond Useless Boutiques in US 1. Bama Lawson, who was a real mover and shaker. Her and her husband were a mover and shaker during the formation of Sebastian. In fact, the very first children's library was in their home up there, and she's been seen a number of times. We've investigated the building and have had our own share of incidents in there with shadows and noises and things like that. So that's another interesting little spot in town. Going into, we'll go to Fellsmere for just a second. Fellsmere, probably one of the most haunted spots that I've seen. The Marsh Landing restaurant, we have, the only other time I've seen full-bodied apparitions was in the Marsh Landing, and I've seen 2 of them in there. The latest one was not too long before COVID hit. I watched a big lanky guy dressed in jeans and like a flannel type shirt, like a cowboy would wear, walk out of one wall and into another.
Wow.
And was gone. Of course, our famous purple lady is, we've got the picture of her in there also. Yeah. The old schoolhouse in Fellsmere. Then of course, Waldo's Secret Garden in Vero has had some interesting activity, and of course the Driftwood. So we can go on and on about places that have paranormal activity right here in Vero, and it coincides with the history of the town too. The whole county, I should say.
It's very, very interesting. So has there been any times during these investigations where you've really gotten a bit uneasy?
Uneasy is a good word. Yeah, watching the guy walk out of the wall and back into a wall in the Marsh Landing probably caught me, because I just wasn't expecting it, and boom, it happened. So there's been some instances like that over time. Certainly, catching voices on our recorders. We had what we investigated in prison here locally a few years ago, and my son made a comment. It's a shame they're locked up in life and they're still here in the afterlife. And when we played the recorder back later, we clearly got a voice saying, "Hell, we ain't dead."
Wow.
So,
wow.
That one was a little unnerving, but only because we listened to it later. It didn't happen at the time, but
sure. That's interesting. That's very interesting stuff. And, to look at a small town like this, Vero Beach, not a huge population, Indian River County in general is like 150, 170,000 people, but to have that much activity in just this small place just makes you wonder what else is out there that we haven't found yet.
And that's what we're working on now, trying to find out all the answers in our area.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. If people want to find out more about what you do and maybe see if they could experience something on their own, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, the best bet is to join us on one of our tours or events, and you can find out when we're having those at www.indianriverhauntings.com, all one word. And our schedule is normally up there, and you can certainly check out our Facebook pages at Indian River Hauntings or the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and you can get a hold of us on either of those also. My email is ghostguy59@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me that way too.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, for coming out, and I'm going to link all of those down in the descriptions and in the comments. And I appreciate you watching. If you guys like this, please give me a like and let me know if there's any other areas that you wonder if there's anything been going on. Maybe we can get Larry back on here. Thanks. Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. If you have any questions or if you have had your own experiences, you want to talk about it, I'd love it if you would leave a comment down below. If you could like this video, share it with a friend, that would be awesome. Thanks.